Well, hello everyone. How is it going? It's a lot of you waiting at the moment. I got always waiting. Um, well, first of all, thank you for being here. I'm Emilio, and this is Godot Tomorrow. Today we're gonna talk a little bit about the new Dev Snapshot, which is the 4.6 Dev 2, and yeah, check out some of the top winners, the top voted entries on the showreel, which already closed 2 days ago. So I will show the five top highest rated in a random order. I don't want to give away the scores because that's not important. And yeah, answer some questions at the end. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I will try to ask answer everything at the end. So yeah, let's go. All right, so this is the dev snapshot. It was also released on Monday. So yeah, it brings a lot of exciting changes, and this time I will try to take a little bit more time. With the previous dev one, I went very quickly over those, but a few people told me that they would like to spend some more time here, so let's do it. As always, you can download this on our website, try it out, give it a go. It's really valuable for us that you download and try this with existing projects. Make sure to have version control set up. And if you find any issue, just, ping us. That's how we can actually fix, get everything ready for the release. All right. So, as we read here, like a behemoth of a snapshot with over 300 improvements. So of course we're not going to be covering all. We're going to go over the highlights and then some of the other ones that don't have like a big section that I thought they were interesting. So yeah, the image is by a game from let's see, we have always here from Upload Labs, and you should check it out. It's quite interesting, and it's basically like a visual notes kind of game where you automate stuff, so like Factorio but without running around. That's at least like how I see it. I haven't played it, but I've been told that it's quite addicting. So yeah, give it a go. I will leave a link on the chat. All right, so first highlight, build Godot engine as a library. So this is more commonly known as libgodot, and I've seen a lot of people like figuring out, trying to understand why this was kind of made in the community. Which, if you think about it, Godot at the moment it's capable of producing just an executable that you share with people, and when you run that executable, like that's your main app. So you are using Godot, and that's all of it. So whenever you want to use Godot inside another project, let's say you have a regular app where you need a 3D view with something happening, you couldn't actually embed Godot inside there too easily. So the goal with Live Godot is to try to use the parts of Godot that you want inside other applications, or use it just as a library, or like a framework. And this is, of course, not done yet. This was the first change that was required for this to be a thing. So I think we're gonna go and try to explain it way better once the full thing is out there. Probably would be very nice for Gergely Kiss, who is like the primary person working on this, to make a blog post explaining it a little bit. But it has been used in many places already. What the main issue with this is that they have to maintain a fork of Godot that support all this. So if you're not using that, you really cannot benefit from it. So the good thing about putting it in the main Godot is that then everybody that wants to interact with Godot in this way can do it. So yeah, like Reason says, can't wait for Godot to be embedded in Blender. I mean, that's already kind of possible if you're brave enough, but yeah, it's just one step to making it easier for people to use Godot inside other applications. Okay, the other one, ObjectDB profiling tool. So this is one of the improvements on the profiler. I have to say, like, I read about it, like, preparing for this episode, and I really didn't know how much you could be using this. I'm not so much familiar with this, but seems to be very exciting for some people. As always, we link to the PR. Like, would encourage you to open it and check the discussion and, like, the different sort of functionality that this brings. So you don't have to just leave it here if you want to know more. Um, okay. So where am I? Okay, never mind. Okay. The improve automatic mesh LOD using component pruning. So it is pretty self-explanatory. On the top is what we have at the moment, and then at the bottom is this new change, which you can basically see now that you can actually reduce a lot the polygon count without actually destroying the image, like the overall shape of the element. So it's using like a smarter way of simplifying like the amount of polygons that you get. And I saw the chat doing something weird. Like, am I okay? Um, so this also brings the ability to go to a very extreme minimal, which I think it's really nice. As you can see here, it preserves the shapes that are more visually relevant. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Like LOD, it's always something you need to have. Um, yeah, let's see. Uh, Having a memory profiler seems like a great improvement. Then we really need a better profiler. Yeah, at the moment we don't have anyone working on the profiler, so it's something that would be super interesting to improve. But yeah, and myself, I haven't used it too much. The projects I made are not so big that to need a profiler anyway. So yeah. Rotation, visualization, and snapping. So this is basically two PRs that kind of benefit from this. And I don't know if it's maybe too small for the stream. I can see if I can open it in a different tab. Doesn't seem to play too nice with it. But basically it shows inside there um, while you're rotating, like a representation of it. And then um, as we read here, at the end of the 360 round, it just resets. So you know what actually you are modifying. And then there's now extra functionality, which is by holding Alt, you can snap to 40 degrees, 45 degrees midpoints, which is very useful if you're actually trying to look for a specific view. Um, this is something that is, very needed if you're actually trying to set up maybe a few views and you want to really have one camera in a particular position. Having it snap, really, really, really cool. Yeah. Then rendering, blend glow before tone mapping and change default to screen. So these are basically like color improvements. Alan Petaluki, uh, Pestaluki, I don't know how you pronounce it, but yeah, um, has been making a lot of work in this, which is how the colors look like in your game. Uh, with the tone map here, the HEX, which is quite popular at the moment, but I don't have I don't think we can see some of these improvements in terms of the HDR on a stream like this on YouTube. But if you have an HDR monitor, I'm sure like you already know how that looks like. But there's also like some adjustments to make them look good even if you don't have HDR, which is a problem that you might encounter. So you're tweaking things to be looking a certain way with HDR, and then when you don't have that, they don't look as similar. So hopefully this is addressing it. And as everything else, this is only one of the many improvements in this area that will be coming. So yeah, and it should come to all the mobile forward plus and compatibility renderer. There is a big warning here. If you see something like a yellow box here in one of these dev releases, that means that you should actually know that things might change, and this is when we change any default or things like that. So you should always read it. So this change technically breaks compatibility since it will result in a noticeable visual change, and the previous behavior cannot be restored by simply adjusting settings. In most cases, we are confident that this change in behavior will be a direct upgrade, but this change is something to be aware if your game is using glow at all. So you can see here like some of the images, like the difference. Like if I swap quickly from one to the other, you will see how the glow behaves. So that's soft light blend mode and screen blend mode. So yeah, let's see. I think your chat stream need to be delayed a bit for modding. I don't know what that means. Oh, you mean like having mods? Yeah. Um. All right. Yeah. I I've been trying to see if we should show the stream or not. Let's see. The stream chat. Um, I cannot really see many messages, but maybe I can just disable it on this stream, and then in future streams we can only have the YouTube replay on the side. But yeah, it's unfortunate that we need to do this, but yeah, probably we can get a lot more real estate in the screen here, which is making the screen bigger and leaving the chat there. But thank you for the heads up, Yuto. All right. And from this, when you see the and more, this means that the changes were not so like highlightable, but I do feel like some of them should have been. One of them that it really caught my attention, which is the add game speed controls to the embedded game window. I didn't know that this was being worked on, but I wanted to try it. So why don't we try it here on the stream? I have here the Kenny 3D Kit platformer, and the change that this brings is like we have the regular game here, so you can move, jump, and whatever. But sometimes you're testing something that happens, in a particular moment, and maybe the game is too fast or too slow. So you can now change the game speed. And in this case, you can make everything super slow if you want to, like 1 to the 16th, and then you see everything in slow motion. And that's great. But you can also do it faster, like maybe you're working on an incremental game and you want things to go faster, and so you don't have to wait a lot. This is too fast for this kind of game, but you get the idea. So this is a great improvement, I feel, especially, you can also check if you're using the values that you really need. So I'm really enjoying all these new improvements on the live preview, because we added the mute game audio, like you can override the camera. There's a lot of things that are starting to be very useful here. I can imagine this going a little bit crazy in terms of way too many features, so there might need to be some sort of customization to hide the ones that you don't use or anything like that. But up until then, you're still gonna be seeing smaller things like that coming. So yeah, I wanted to show that one, which it was really cool. And another one, which is the make file part of errors warnings clickable in the output panel, which is something that also drove me a bit crazy sometimes, because let's say we have a script here, and then I don't know, we had a variable that like a function that doesn't exist anymore, but you kind of forgot about it. Let's just make it fail on purpose. So now, like, you try to play like the project, and you get an error. It shows it there, no problem. That was already automated. But the one that wasn't is that you sometimes open the project. So I don't know if I can do it here. Let's see if I save it. And you open your project, like just on a fresh day, something changed, and then you get a bunch of errors here. And it was telling you where exactly that was happening, but you couldn't do anything. You had to go find the script, and Now you can just click on it and you should be able to go directly to where it goes. And this is something that we need to do way more. Like there's a lot of places in which it tells you like, oh, the UID here doesn't exist anymore. So, you know, being able to click on it and go to it, it's quite an improvement. And yeah, then there's some reworks on the editor docs that should be improving things for other stuff, but it's not very easy to show. And many more changes. These are like some of the ones that the release team decided to highlight. But if you want to see all of them, at the end of this list, we always have the interactive changelog. And in the interactive changelog, you can see everything that got merged here. So in this case, 331 PRs, and you can go through them. Some of them, are easy to see because when you open them, you have like a nice preview like this one. Some other times, like it's just text, and if you really don't know what's that affecting, you need to do a little bit more of digging. Usually, if it's something like this, you will explain it. Let me open one that has. I should have prepared an example. Um, let's see. Now I'm gonna be opening 5 of them, and they don't have. Okay, here. And even if this one has a very good explanation, but even if the PR doesn't really tells you what it does, usually tells you which PRs it closed, and then you can read the issue that somebody reported, and that's a good way to understand where the change came from. So yeah, you can download it now. Please, if you try it out, report any bugs that you find. It's a lot of work to get this out, and there will be more still to come. But yeah, 4.6 is starting to look quite good. Hopefully, for the next one, we're going to have 2 exciting PRs merged. One would be the editor theme, which I've been using in this example, but this is still the theme uh, installed like manually and with some other properties. But probably in the next dev, we're going to have it like natively. And the other one is the like the screen space reflections, the SSR, which that's very exciting as well. It got like a rewrite and it's looking quite good. That's some work that I will cover once it's in the dev. Like if I cover it now, it will make no sense to cover it again later. Okay. Let me read the comments a little bit before jumping into the next one. Yeah, let's see. Starting to like, yeah, just finished JavaScript in an hour tutorial. That's good. Yeah, there's a lot of new tutorials now. Please, we absolutely need a refactoring function to change variable and function names globally in the project without breaking everything with the usual search and replace. Well, that's coming. That's something that maybe in the next dev you will see, the dev snapshot. Let me open it and send you the link to it. Because, well, if you check on previous entries, I already linked it on previous Godot Tomorrows. But yeah, Adam Scott is working on that and should come soon. But yeah, I still do feel like search and replace is very like the safest option because you can manually select everything and you can do it without the need to wait for anything. But the refactoring tools should make everything easier, of course. Let's see. Any other question I missed? Should Godot has Vive coding? That's something that you can already do if you have an external editor, but we have no plans to add anything in the editor itself. No C# GD extension in the next dev. Well, yes, I don't want to promise anything because if I do say yes, then they're gonna be waiting for it. But hopefully yes. But the C# GD extension shouldn't depend too much on the current devs because it's a different build that we're gonna be sharing, like an experimental build. So yeah, you shouldn't need to wait for a particular dev for it to happen. I asked this before, but the new LODs, is there a way for users to set which levels of LOD they want, or are these four levels hard coded? That's a good question. I haven't used the feature myself. I think you can have a target, and that doesn't necessarily need to be those four levels. But if you write that on the forum thread, let me send you a link to the forum. I can have like the answer prepared for you in the next one. And it's okay if you make almost the same video. I think trade is coming in 4.6. Well, there was a discussion, like a big discussion about trades. And the problem with trades, as far as I know, is that when somebody tells you that they want trades, each one of them, they tell you that they want a different thing. So I feel like the GDScript team wanted to first align with everyone in terms of knowing what exactly the expectation was from everybody, because every time somebody brought the trades, people had a different idea. But that depends on the GDScript team to decide. There are, I think, some implementations already floating around. One of them quite popular that you could try. But I feel like the problem was that if we add something like that, we need to make sure that it can actually address the issues that people have. And some people have very different needs with very different assumptions of what a trade is. So yeah. Hello, is the drawable textures PR plan for 4.6? Would be fantastic to have. Hello, Overloaded. It's great to see you here. I don't know. Again, as with the other one, maybe you should add that one on the forum and I can check it out and see what the status of it is. I know that the person that we hired to work on rendering is working on fixes mostly, especially for D3, D12 and the ESSR or stuff like that. But I don't know if anyone that's actually working on that. So could be, I don't know. All right. So let's go now to see some of the trailers. This is the top 5 of the trailers that, top 5 in no particular order of the submissions we got. And these, for sure are gonna be in the showreel video. And yeah, I'm gonna do another session of Q&A at the end. Yeah,
we came for the promise of gold.
Rafa is so good at
doing
this.
Big has vanished. I need to find a way out.
Let me see if I can.
The forest watches my every step, and it's changing.
This game is gonna be huge. Like, looks so good.
The way out. What is the way out? What is the way out?
Unnecessarily cool that also that title. So yeah, Rafa is also working on the PVKK team. So you see, like they are so talented. So yeah, looking forward to it. Another one that got into the top 5, it's an application which is the Material Maker, and we talked about it in the previous Godot Tomorrow stream. And it's great to see an application getting into the top 5. Before we used to split the the show reels into different categories, but this time we're gonna do them as last year and all into one. So yeah. Can Godot do 3D? Kappa. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we already know about this one. We probably have to cut this to be very exciting. So I'm sure we're gonna need a little bit of a different footage for the show reel. Maybe with these examples a little bit bigger and stuff like that. But that depends also a little bit more on the person doing the video editing, which we do have someone editing the video. But yeah, it's not gonna be me as well, like the other years. The other one, no surprise, Dog Walk. This got almost a perfect 100% upvotes. Like everybody loved it, except 2 people. I don't know who you are, but 2 people decided that this game wasn't worth of the show reel for some reason. Yeah, we already also showed it a lot. So it's nice to see. So yeah, no surprises here. But yeah, I don't know who actually downvoted them. Another one that I didn't know a lot about until the voting started. This was also on the top 5, which is Trigger of Time. And it looks quite nice. I'm really intrigued as well. Looks super cool. Nice. Still no 2D, except the material maker, which is for making 3D stuff. But yeah. Yeah, I'm really interested in this one. Like, I feel they have a very stylistic choice of showing the colors in a it's very readable. When you see a level, you actually know where to look at, so I really appreciate that. I've seen some comparisons with Portal on the comments, because I think that's what the game is trying to look like, in terms of like very easy to read and not only action driven. But yeah, I did not know about this game before. So yeah. And the last one that was also on the top 5, which is Katana Dragon. If you've been in socials everywhere, you've seen this. It's a voxel game. Yeah, they've been posting a lot, so it's great to see that project is still going. It's a really cool presentation, and support us on Kickstarter. So it seems like they are running a Kickstarter, or they did run. I wasn't aware. Um, let's check it out. Let's open it. Seems like that was before. But yeah, Katana Dragon. If you've been around in the Godot scene, you've seen it. Also, like there's somebody else in the chat, like Ruru usually don't like voxel, but this looks decent. Yeah, I also like. I'm not a fan of voxel because sometimes it makes things really hard to read, but I feel like in this game it's very easy to understand what's going on, and it's looking super good. So yeah. And that's pretty much it in terms of what I had prepared. So now, like, I'm going to reply to some of the questions that we got on the forums and here on the chat a little bit more. And that should be it for this week. We're gonna be doing soon the next note letter, which is the newsletter and all that. And if we send it before the next stream, I will comment it here, and if not, in the first stream of the next month. But yeah, in a couple of weeks, I feel now like I think it's how long? In 20 days, something like that, is the Godot Fest. And during that week, of course, we'll not have a Godot Tomorrow stream. So yeah. Let's go to here. One of the questions I had on the forum, which was by Hardboiled User. Nice name. I wonder if the foundation has any thought plan to move towards the use of POS software service in the future. For instance, like not using Google Forms or for a poll, and alternatives for YouTube as video platform. And yeah, I know that some FOSS solutions already are being used, like Discord, Jitsi, Rocket Chat, and Nextcloud, and I know that all of the alternatives are far from perfect. I'm asking this because Blender did transition to their own self-hosted solution and having alternatives to some of the proprietary service. I do understand it's not a priority, and this priority service, blah blah blah. Yeah, it's a lot of work basically. I'm just wondering about the foundation thought on this for another 10 or 20 years in the future. So yes, like this is something that we talk about because it is something that will eventually happen, I feel, with all the services. But we need to look for the moment where there's an opportunity for us to do it that's actually cost effective. So we all know, and that's something that it's not a secret, that eventually Discord, like a lot of people are using Discord right now, right? Eventually Discord will not be as free and open as it is now for communities, and they will have to look for an alternative. That's why, you know, it makes sense to have some other alternatives like Rocket Chat, which is what we use for the devs. So at a certain time, you don't get blocked. And the conversation also happened with the GitHub changes that recently were all over the news. GitHub at any point could start doing things that are not popular. And we at the moment are benefiting from their help because they are sponsoring our account, let's say, in terms of like we do have like enterprise features, but we don't pay anything for using GitHub. And that of course is a good relationship for both because they get the benefit of the popularity of a project like ours being in their platform and a lot of users, and we do get not having to be paying for all that infrastructure. So if we wanted to transition away from something like GitHub, you need to do something like Blender did, which is like a self-hosted solution, like Gitty or the other ones. There's like a few forks, Codeberg or things like that. I don't remember right now. And that requires to have that hosted on our end. If it goes down, we need someone that can actually put it up again. And it's a big cost also of transitioning everything that we have from here to there. So what we are going to be doing, and that's something that already started, is like we're going to start making some smaller projects in a self-hosted capacity, especially for the foundation that we do have many small applications like the showreel voting one or things like that. We're going to have it self-hosted. We're going to try with them to see how it goes, what level of success we have. And prepare a plan for if we lose this sort of privilege in terms of having the main Godot repository in GitHub, then we have a plan B. So in that situation, we know we can go somewhere else. But someone like a team like Blender, it has more resources to do something like this. They are like 3 or 4 times bigger than us in funding and in amount of people. So yeah, Forge Joe, or however you say it, as Ether Powered says on the chat. So yeah, we don't have at the moment the capacity of doing that. So it's a bit tricky. We do want it, but whenever it's reasonable. With the Google Forms, that every time we do a poll, people ask, why do I have to fill in a Google form? It's asking me for my Gmail. The main reason why we use something like that is because of the spam protection features they offer, which if we do something ourselves, we need to take care of. And there wasn't anything that was convincing enough when we were setting up the first ones. So now it's the cost and benefit of every time we do a new poll, we duplicate the one that exists and then we modify it with the things that we need. So the work that we need to do is tiny compared to let's recreate this poll in another software. Let's try it out. Let's see if we get a lot of spam. Let's try to deal with whatever might happen. So it's definitely something we want to do, but it's not as easy as replacing it outright. Same with YouTube. We did the showreel and we asked people. Unfortunately, before we were more lenient in terms of like you can upload it anywhere and send us a link, but that also created some security concerns because if you're uploading a file that that all the maintainers of Godot are going to be opening, right? Like you're downloading it from a server somewhere. So it's like, okay, we need to provide somewhere where they can upload. But then we really don't know how much that would be in terms of size. It might be many videos, and you need to be also showing them on the showreel voting app. So it's definitely doable, but not very practical at the moment. We are like we do have on the plans to eventually have like what's it called, the PeerTube instance where we do have some videos uploaded there, like the show reels and all that. But at the moment, YouTube seems to be okay enough. Not great, but for free, it's hard to beat. But yeah, eventually something we want to move to. So yeah, that was like the answer to that. Maybe 10, 20 years, maybe yes, but at the moment it's a bit harder. And then there were other comments on the last week stream. Someone asking for my name. I'm Emilio Coppola. I replied there. Then here, one point, I'm using Godot 4.5.1 to develop a non-game app. Is there any plan to support 3D Gaussian splat in Godot Engine 4? Do you know any current working implementation of it? Many thanks in advance for your answer. So no, there isn't any plans to do any 3D Gaussian splat. Probably if you want to do something like that, you want to use some other more specialized 3D app, probably Blender. I don't know if they do have it at the moment. Probably yes. But yeah, there isn't any plan to add anything like that at the moment in Godot. And I don't know of any other implementations. Usually try to stay in the loop with these things, but I don't know. And any roadmap for Godot 5? And that I can say maybe. We don't want Godot 5 to be anytime soon, but there's many things that, different teams want to do that would break compatibility. And once there's enough of them, then the conversation will be open. But we are not going to be probably doing it anytime soon. And when that happens, it will be very public. Like, I don't think that we're going to start working in secret in Godot 5 and then suddenly one day release it. And we're not going to be doing anything like that because of how our project is. So I don't think that Godot 5 is important right now. We are focusing on Godot 4.6, which is being developed now, and 4.7, which we know that many of the things that cannot make it now will have to make it there. So yeah, those were some of the comments on the previous stream. And yeah, that's all I had prepared from before. So if you have any questions now, I'm happy to answer, and always check the forum, and I will prioritize those. But happy to have you all here on the stream. Hello, Sir Joe. Any update on the streaming assets fronts? The LOD seems somewhat related. Yeah, no, there isn't any work done on the asset streaming on our end. As I said, like, it's in a priority, and that's something that we want, but there isn't anyone actively working on it. When's the showreel out? So right now, the showreel has finished the voting just on Monday. We're gonna need to make the final list of all the entries. The foundation will try to select some games that should be in the showreel, but they didn't submit, but they are popular enough, so you will probably know them already, but we want to include them. And then ideally, I would say for end of November, we should have it. Something like that. Do you have any ideas, compatibility breaking features that would warrant Godot 5? Well, yeah, before we were, there was people asking about traits, and there's a million GDScript requests. And if we really want to make a big change in GDScript at this point, that's kind of like a Godot 5 conversation, if it's a foundational change. So those are things that are always on the conversation, right? Like, if this change is going to affect everyone that has a project and will make it hard to port the game and all that, will be something to consider for a Godot 5. And another conversation that was also around Godot 5 is there are some things that are in the engine at the moment that are not that popular, but maybe could be a good time to remove those, right? Maybe there's a feature, I don't want to name anything, but maybe there are some features that nobody really uses. They have been included there because at the time maintainers thought it was going to be very useful, or there was maybe some hypothetical and they squeezed in. And now we really see that nobody really has anything using those APIs. So it could be a good time to say, let's clean house, let's remove all this bloat, and maybe some things can be moved to an extension. Maybe some things are better left as a plugin. So without, leaving people without any tools, because you could say that everything is an extra. It's a good time to say, okay, in Godot 5, this is not gonna be included, and you have this extension or things like that, which kind of happened, in some instances with Godot 3 and Godot 4. And one of them that was very, very problematic in social media was the removal of the twin node. So in Godot 3, twins were a node, but depending on your use, most of the people didn't want to have actually like a node. They just wanted to do twins, and when you're doing twins inside the script, it was kind of weird to have to instance them and all that. So now the twins are not a node, but you can still download an extension that will give that functionality back to you if you want to. But you cannot really remove a node and let people just okay, no, in Godot 7 or in Godot 8 this node doesn't exist anymore. So it's like, okay, yeah, I hope that answers the question. Let's see. I'm somehow not able to connect to Godot domain. I'm not sure what you mean. A DNS problem. Oh, it's always DNS. Hi, Amy. Nice to catch you. Hello, Nozomu. Like, are you gonna be in the Godot Fest? Am I gonna see you there? Would be nice. Also, any update on the 3D grid map? Trying to use it for the last game jam, but it's not so good. Not so good is very polite. Yeah, there were many PRs, and we had one of our contractors go over them for some time, but then he got prioritized to do some other stuff, and then we abandoned that. I think it's something we want to improve, and there's always interest, but we never seem to be able to do the final 10% that's needed for those PRs to get through. But should be something that we need to update. Man, Twin Code is so good. They can get over it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and most people did. Most people had no issues with it, but some of them, like, were very vocal, and I could understand. And even if I didn't agree with keeping it, like, I understand where they're coming from, and that's why it's kind of weird to remove those sort of features in a point release. You have to do it in a major release, and over time, you just accumulate a lot of them. But yeah. Okay, ended up having multiple grid maps with different layers. Yeah, grid maps are not great. And after the 2D tile map editor redesign, a lot of people were expecting some work to happen also in the grid map. And again, like, there's always people like volunteers or working even like at the foundation who wants to improve that, but it's never been like fully done. I made a plugin that put a Minecraft style editor for grid map into the editor, but then got bored of making it. Well, that sounds super interesting. I always thought about that sort of functionality. I feel it should be like a good way of, integrating what people already know, which is moving around in the space, checking how things are, and putting blocks on it as a good way of making the first version of a level. And then, yeah, edit it properly if you want to later. I think it's a great idea, and a lot of people will use it. So if you ever get some motivation, I would love to see more. I think the editing tool for the 3D grid map is really lacking. Yeah, if you have any proposals or anything that you think might improve it, feel free to share them, and I will see what can be done in terms of, like, maybe there's already a PR that's very close to be done, and we can do something about it. Way to go to Godot Fest, but happening during workdays is a deal breaker. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. Well, we are starting to work on the GodotCon for Europe 2026, and that should be in Amsterdam, and hopefully on a weekend. So maybe I can see you there. Okay, I'm gonna do like a few more, and then we're gonna be closing. Any plans to support editing export variables of scenes added in tilemap layer and grid map? I don't know if I understand the question. Editing export variables of scenes added on a tilemap layer. I think I know what you mean. I think in those cases, you should be placing these scenes directly on the editor and snapping to grid. That might not be ideal, but yeah, it's an interesting question. I never consider it because you probably cannot really. Oh, you made me now like think about it. I think it would be a nice feature to have, but I don't know of any plans about that. I think at the moment you have to place the scenes directly in the tree. We'll meet you in Godot Fest someday. Trust me and remember me. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Godot Fest is only like the one that happens in Munich, but the GodotCon will happen next year hopefully in Boston again. We already kind of announced in Amsterdam for the European audience. We are talking another one in North America for the West Coast, not in the United States, but it's still very early on. I don't want to promise anything. And we also want to do something in Tokyo with the people from Godot in Japan. So we'll see. Hopefully next year we have many conferences, so people can go to one of them that's closer to their home, and that's not a super burden to be paying for the flight super far away. But yeah, it's gonna be challenging, but if we manage to do it right, hopefully you will have an event closer to your home. I'm in a second world country, so not easy to travel. Well, yeah. Still, like, there's people in Argentina who always tell us we need to do one in Argentina, and it's like, yes, whenever we figure this out properly, like, I would love to do more uh, smaller ones. Godot in Montreal or Toronto? Well, I think that would be too close to Boston. So no, we are looking for, sorry, the East Coast. I said like the West Coast before. Um, on the East Coast. So, people who are on the other side can also go closer. But yeah. All right. I will leave a link again to the forums. Please leave comments there if you want me to reply, and also if you want me to be more prepared, because sometimes I do get questions of areas I don't know a lot about here, and I cannot do the research while on the video, but I'm happy to figure out who's working on what and when that might be coming. And yeah, thank you for bringing this up, Vexor Moon. Can I get a Godot plushie out in the Southeast Asia though? I don't know if you can. You probably can. The makeshift people ship to many places, but if you haven't, like, the plushie is out there, you should be able to order it. I got some people asking how long it's gonna be up, and we're talking with makeshift to make it be online for longer than a regular campaign, maybe even indefinitely. But yeah. Chat not showing video. No, I disabled it, but we were also getting some spam. I need to check the replay. Maybe I need to censor the screen or something. I believe that was some sort of spam on the stream. But yeah, I was debating to have or not the chat on the screen, because it's risky to have it there with not so much moderation. At the moment, I don't think there's any mod online. And in the other type of streams like this that I see, like Godot today, Blender today, for instance, they don't show it, and I guess that's the reason why. But you should always be able to see the chat replay. No mods online, time to go crazy. Yeah. The community is nice enough. Mods asleep. All right, I'm gonna be finishing the stream before people go crazy on the chat. But thank you everyone for being here. Oh yeah, we have mod there. Yeah. Thank you people for being there and for all your questions, enthusiasm, and looking forward to see you next week, I guess. What day would be? Next week is the 29th. Yeah, the 29th should be there. And then first week of November, another stream. And the second week of November, I'm gonna be doing this IRL at Godot Fest. So yeah. Thank you everyone, and see you in the next one.